I would like to ask Kanak Mani Dixit Saab that what is the reason behind this decline of Nepal on World Press Freedom Index, and is there a better national security after this decline in Nepal?
Well, the Press Freedom Index is behind the times, frankly. Whoever does their mathematics has not looked at Nepal over months.
Okay.
It is a matter that has to be seen, because our politics are in, rise and dive, rise and dive. And right now, in one sense, in terms of press freedom, we are on a rise. I would speak to all of South Asia from my Kathmandu perspective. And the best way to check press freedom or freedom of speech index is which society uses Signal, the platform, to communicate. As you know, even Jeffrey Epstein was telling somebody in his emails, come to Signal. So, Pakistan, they use Signal. Whoever is significant and wants to protect his or her communication. Indian activists and politicians got into Signal about 8 or 9 years ago. Bangladesh, if Shahidul will correct me, but I would think it is about 5 or 6 years ago, people started going to Signal. Nepal, as yet, we have not had to go into Signal. I can still communicate on direct text, SMS, and not fear that somebody will come knocking, although who knows what happens, kal kya hoga, kya baat. That's my preface remark. I would say that erosion of free speech on the pretext of national security does not only impact press. We tend to think it impacts the media, but as you can see from Pakistan, from India, from Nepal, it's also impacting the judiciary on one extreme. The judiciary is pulling back from the kind of decisions it might have otherwise given because of this incredible pressures that they feel. But not just the judiciary, not just the press, even the average opinion maker who would put something on his or her Twitter feed or his Facebook account pulls back from doing it. That is because thinking and free thinking all over, not just free speech, free thinking is impacted. So, national security is propagated by and large by the majoritarian state. And as Shahidul said before me, it is the minorities and defense of the minorities by even the majority communities that is impacted. When the majoritarian state starts using the danda of national security to come down hard on the media and indirectly on even the justices of the court and the magistrates as well as opinion makers. Now, the national security is now made, the idea of national security is now made even more dangerous in these times of faith-based national security. As long as it is quote-unquote secular nationalism, you go towards ultra-nationalism, but even ultra-nationalism will not go beyond a point. But when you have it linked to religion, then things become really dangerous, and that is when you get the self-censorship. We are way past the time when you expect and you fight the state for carrying out censorship. We are now in the era of self-censorship across South Asia. And this is where not only do minorities get impacted, but so do majority communities, because the society's democratic efficiency is weakened. So I would just end by saying this. I have more to say about South Asia as a whole, comparing India and Pakistan and Bangladesh and Nepal as I know it. However, the social media, I think the previous session also dealt with social media. So not only do you have faith-based or religion-based national security ideas propagated to silence opinion makers, but you also we are now in the era of social media algorithms that promote rancor, looking deep into the evolution of modern day humans, including modern day the brain development of modern day humans. The Nawabs of social media in Silicon Valley have understood that you propagate negativism to fill your pockets with billions of dollars. And we are all in that funda. We are all stuck in there. And so not only, I'll end by saying, not only is ultranationalism now laced with religion and faith, call it Islamic extremism or call it Hindutva, two sides of the border. That is one danger that is impacting free speech more than we ever had to before. And secondly, it is social media. The trolls are after you. So even an average opinion maker will follow social media but not make opinions. So people who are up front, faces in the public, I'm sure this is happening to Hamid Mir as well. I know it has happened to you. You get trolled out of shape. And what does that do to people with lesser amounts of courage? You go quiet. And that quietude is covering the face of South Asia as we speak.
Mr. Dixit, what do you see the future of democracy in South Asia, and especially the future of free speech in the pretext of national security? Do you think that national security is becoming a biggest threat for the freedom of speech in South Asia?
In those countries where national security is attached to majoritarian religion, faith, democracy is in the gravest danger. And within that come Pakistan and India as the two largest countries of South Asia fall within this bracket. And that is why, and then these two large countries, highly countries that are able to influence neighbors near and far, they get to influence the rest of South Asia. So I would start by saying that what I mentioned in my earlier point, Hamid, that free speech is impacted by national security. National security is impacted when religion is laced into the fibers of the national security state, in which case it becomes very hard to resist, because the extremists will come after you with a machete or with a gun. Sometimes even your guards will turn on you. That is how dangerous it becomes once religion slips into it. And sadly, the two largest countries of South Asia, both, it started by Ziaul Haq regime, of course, but now India has learned a lot of what Pakistan has gone through before this, and the rest of South Asia is also, as a result, impacted. I would say that in the case of Bangladesh, Bangladesh is going into elections in a couple of, next week. And I personally see in the arena of freedom of expression linked to the national security state, Bangladesh is teetering, and we all wish Bangladesh will be exemplary for the rest of South Asia by rescuing itself from the folds of extremism that impacts the national security state. Sri Lanka remains within the constitution, even though they also had a great movement 3 years ago, and it was a youth-led movement, but it remained within the constitution. Nepal is also in a difficult situation, because this whole era of social media impacted politics has meant that we have our elections on March the 5th. And for the first time, issues are not being discussed. It is personalities. It's almost like we are a parliamentary democracy, but it's almost like a presidential system election that is happening in Nepal as we speak. And so we don't know where we'll end up. And sadly, the tentacles of political Hindutva is also penetrating Nepal. So it is not as bad as in parts of India, but Hindutva is also penetrating Nepal. So for the rest of us to be able to see that and to challenge it amidst the trolling, amidst the backlash in social media, when so many opinion makers go silent. I can tell you, people who used to propose themselves as the social scientists, the opinion makers of the last 2-3 decades, in the last 5 years have gone silent. Because who needs to, the feeling is, who needs this? Who needs this attacks on your person through social media, which is then read by the rest of society? So I would really suggest that social media, the use of social media, the rampant anarchy in social media is actually having an impact in our democracy, and using often the via media of national security. I'll end by suggesting to you, and I think this is probably true in Pakistan as it is in Nepal and elsewhere in South Asia, that the legacy media is now being made to chase after news created or trends created by social media. So the weakening of social media for various reasons, because of technology, but also because of the state and because of faith-based populism, is impacting, is being used by social media, and the opinion makers that used to be in legacy media have mostly gone silent. Particularly, I should add, we may read Dawn, we may read the news, but and across the Wagah-Atari border, they may read English papers. In Nepal, you may read the Kathmandu Post, but politics is made in the vernacular, and the vernacular is impacted so much that it impacts politics as a whole. So when the outsider looks at a society, including Pakistan, they may see a very liberal society, but the churning underneath can be much more dangerous than what you read in an English language paper.